ECU? Do you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome in to Hoist the Colors on this Thursday, January 4th edition of the show. It is beyond the new year, so we are back this week with our programming and very excited about today's show because we have head coach Mike Houston from the football program in studio. Coach, you were our inaugural guest back in May when we kicked this thing off, so welcome back. Thanks
a lot. Good to be back. Good to be back for the new year, so happy new year. Hope holidays were good.
They were good. Good. The kids got too many presents, and we're running out of space in the house already. So.
I was about to say, a little more exciting than it was a few years ago. So
no doubt. It never ceases to amaze me how much stuff a 2-year-old can collect at Christmas and then not play with. But, hey, it's part of it. You've been through it now.
Yeah.
So, well, first off, man, thanks for taking some time to come over because this is a crazy time of year for you guys as coaches. I mean, you're recruiting. You're finally back on campus, but you're hosting transfer visits all week. Then you guys are going to head to the convention. You're going to head on the road recruiting. So it's just a crazy time of year, right?
Yeah, it is. And it really, last year's the first time it really kind of jumped on us because you didn't realize, usually, after the bowl game you have a little bit of time before the convention, so you weren't back in the office, and then you have this 5-day window that pops up, and so it was pretty hectic last year. Just really kind of unnerved you a little bit. This year we anticipated it, so you were prepared for these visits and prepared for what this week is going to be like. And so, yeah, we're hosting a lot of guys on campus this week, and it's a real quick deal. I mean, most of them are here for about 24 hours, and then they're going to somewhere else. And so it's kind of like speed dating a little bit. You got guys that are going to visit 4 or 5 schools this week.
And for people that don't understand, these transfers, they're trying to make a decision, many of them, to get into before the winter semester, which
right.
at ECU starts January 8th. So
yeah.
You guys are basically welcoming guys to campus for the first time, and they're going to have to start school next week if they commit. So
right.
There's a lot they've got to learn, too.
It's a lot. But, some of them have been here before. There's a couple that, we recruited out of high school, and, they went to bigger schools. And so, that's the positive of that. You have some that we were talking to back in December and just couldn't get the visit in December. So they've been prepared for this. But then you literally have some that, we have found over the break and have set these things up, during Christmas and New Year's.
All right, so we can talk about the guys who committed in December from the portal. We'll start there, and we'll obviously go through some of the key returnees. I mean, we'll get into the transfer portal. I've already been asked to ask you about Antoine Jackson. I don't know how much you can say on the air about that, but we'll go down that route as well. But let's talk first about the guys you have announced from the portal, and we'll start with Caden Hauser, the Michigan State transfer.
Well, obviously it was significant, to get Caden, and he's excited to be here, and he'll be on campus here in the next day or two, and he was JDB. I was really impressed. The hiring thing, and I knew it would have to be that way. Got JDB hired right after the season ended, and he immediately I couldn't keep up with where he was anywhere in the country. I mean, literally, he was in a different state, different time zone every day during the contact period, and so he went and sat and interviewed these transfer quarterbacks one-on-one. And had already identified their ability. And a lot of them he knew from recruiting them at USC or Ole Miss. And so, he identified Caden as being his top target there, before Caden came to campus. And it was great to get him. And so we're excited about that. And, obviously, he's got to have a great spring in order to be the starter. He is going to have significant competition. And so it's not like he gets anointed walking in the door. He's got to go out there and earn it.
Yeah, and when I talk to him, I feel like he's got the right mindset.
Right.
He mentioned that as well. He knows just because he's the first transfer to commit or a transfer to commit, he's not guaranteed anything.
Right.
So the mentality he kind of brought with him on the visit, did that seem to align with what you guys were looking for as well?
No doubt. I mean, you sit and you spend time with him, and he's very driven. He comes from a very solid family. It's obvious that his dad, taught him, work ethic and values growing up. And he understands what he's got to do, and he's been in the fire. Now it was you can talk about how difficult or whatever it was at Michigan State last year. Now he was straight in the crosshairs, so it's not like he hadn't been out there in some big time games and played really well at times. So
when you look at the quarterback situation going forward, obviously Raheem Jeter coming back.
Right.
Cole Hodge just announced, by the way, awesome honor, the Gatorade Kentucky Player of the Year.
Pretty special.
That's a great honor, man. So he'll be in the summer.
Yep.
And Alex Flynn waiting on a decision there. Is there any update on Alex at this point?
Well, Alex is an important member of our program, and he's set to be in our team meeting Sunday night, and I expect him to go through the spring. Now, obviously, things can change. I don't want to speak for him. But he's going to have the opportunity to compete along with Raheem and Caton and whoever else we have in that room for the spring. So, we'll see how all that goes.
We'll get into the quarterback situation this past year a little bit down the road in this show. But I do want to, I assume you guys don't want to find yourself in the same situation again, so
No.
you're going to add as much competition as
Right.
possible. So what is that looking like with you and John David Baker trying to figure out, hey, how many guys do we want to add, and do you want to add another one by the start of the spring?
Well, John David's been very upfront with Caton and the quarterbacks in the room that he's going to add another quarterback still. And so he's literally, we met this morning on it, and he's talking to guys. He has, some guys that have visited that, have an offer from us. And I do anticipate us probably bringing somebody else to campus later this week.
This we were talking about a little bit before coming on the air, but just like day to day with this week in particular, how much is information changing? Because a guy maybe be on your board, but then the next day it's maybe off the board or maybe he's visiting. Right. It's crazy.
It's nuts. And, thankfully we went through it last year, so you're more prepared this year. But literally, I was sitting out there in the car, trying to find time for a staff meeting today, because you got different coaches with different recruits at different spots around town or on campus, and this is, it's constant every day this week. But it is what it is, and the staff is prepared very well to navigate this successfully this week. So you'll kind of know where we are probably, I don't know, maybe a week from now.
Well, hey, if you get too of an important call on the show, you got to take it. We'll understand. We'll make it work. All right, so other transfer additions to this point, 3 receivers added and a lot of talent there. Winston Wright Jr., Omega Blake, Anthony Smith from NC State as well. So when you look at those guys, they each bring something different. What do you like about that group?
Well, I think you add them to what we have coming back. I mean, because, nobody needs to forget Chase Sowell, who I thought had an outstanding redshirt freshman season for us. And, obviously he has very high expectations moving forward. You have Jari Patterson. You have some other guys in that room. Kerry King's coming back off knee surgery. But you add those to what we have coming back, and we can talk later about the incoming freshman who I'm really excited about. You look at the room now, and now you have speed to take the top off with multiple players. You have guys that have made big-time plays in big ball games in the SEC. You have in Winston Wright, a former all-conference player in the Big 12. So you've got at every position you have a playmaker. And there's a lot of competition, but there's also solid guys that have been proven commodities on the field. So you feel really good that your quarterback is going to be surrounded by guys that can make plays.
You look at Darrell Roberts, receivers coach, what he's done recruiting-wise. These 3 guys, the 4 freshmen receivers, and then also he actually added Chase Sowell and Keelan Robinson last summer after coming in. So he's done quite a bit of work in that receiver room.
Well, he's an outstanding recruiter, and he's great work ethic. And that's one thing he's going to do is he's going to make sure that we got the firepower out there. The other thing is our returning players, and it'll be our incoming players also. They've just meshed so well with him, and they have strong relationships with all those guys. So really commend him for the job he's done. I hate that we had to go through a season like we did together as his first year with the Pirates. But I'm excited he's with us.
You guys also added an offensive lineman, Darius Bell from Maine, another big guy. He's played tackle guard at Maine, so is he another piece you could maybe move around up front?
Well, I mean, we project him as probably being an inside guy, but he does have position flexibility, and he's a big, powerful, athletic guy, and that's you can't coach those attributes. He has played, and we think he's going to come in and compete for a starting job, right off the bat.
And you still, I assume, want to add more up front, and I know, some stuff you can't comment on, but maybe that's down the pipe as well. We're
not done with our offensive line yet, and Matt has done a great job as well since getting here of taking. I feel really good about some of the guys we have returning too. The thing is, all those guys that didn't have the experience last year going into the season, now they've got a lot of experience. So it's going to be a highly competitive room this spring. But Matt has done a great job of establishing strong relationships with our returning players, and also identifying what we really need and going after those guys and getting some guys to add to the room.
Defensively, two commitments as well back in December. Damon Wilson, two guys y'all recruited out of high school.
Yeah.
I remember you recruiting them well. Damon Wilson out of Missouri, originally Kings Mountain, and then Raheem Craig out of Taylorsville, North Carolina, out of Louisville. So two guys I'm sure you like to pick up, coming back home.
Yeah, I mean, knew both of them coming out of high school, and really excited about what they're going to bring to our room. Raheem, really, I thought we were going to get him out of high school, and just Louisville came in late and got him. Day had a former Pirate, kind of help us a little bit with him. David Blackwell's out at Missouri right now, and so it's good to have a guy that you trust and you can talk to about what the kids like day to day. So I think both of them are going to help us.
So again, a really good start there with the December signing period for the portal. We'll talk about, again, some of the freshmen as well a little bit later. Let's talk briefly about your offensive staff and what they've been able to do. John David Baker coming in, we talked about that. But he brings in some of his guys as well.
Right.
Darrell Roberts returning. So how confident are you in that side of the ball with what's been added there offensively with the staff?
Well, I feel really, really good about everything they've done since they got here. And I think that John David came in and had a vision for what he wanted from a staff perspective. He met with the current staff members we had when he was hired. He met with all of them one-on-one, but he knew exactly what he wanted from staff kind of identities, and I think it's very important. That's one thing that I was really committed to doing is if you're going to hire John David and all right, here you got to revamp our offense. I think you got to give him the pieces he needs to do that, both from a player standpoint and from a coach standpoint. To his credit, and I told him I appreciate the fact he's not a yes guy. He's not afraid to share his opinion respectfully, and he knows exactly what he needs, and so he did that. And I think we put together a strong staff so far. Where probably some support staff pieces are still going to be added to that, and he knows what we need right there also.
I always get asked, all right, is Mike Houston, is he calling offensive plays? And I was like, no, he's a defensive coach. He's not calling offensive plays. Now, you have input, obviously,
right.
And if it's a fourth down, you're making the decision to go for it, along with talking with the offensive coaches. But can you just clarify that you're not in there calling offensive plays?
The last offensive play that I called, I was at T.C. Robertson High School in 2004. So no, I mean I have input, and
right.
I sit in the game plan meetings, and I know what we're trying to do, and how we're trying to do it, who we're trying to get the ball to, and I give input on, hey, we need, this guy's a matchup issue, we need to try to expose this right here. But you hire the offensive coordinator to call the game, and people don't realize the amount of preparation that the coordinators put in week to week to call the game. Now, in the game, do I have input? Yeah, absolutely. But you can't hire somebody to do a job and then try to do their job for them. That doesn't work in any business. So,
All right, he is Mike Houston. We'll take a break. Also want to hit on Blake Harrell coming back and the defensive staff as well, and all the players coming back. I mean, we get so caught up in all the new additions this time of year, but I also want to highlight a lot of the guys coming back. We'll also look back at 2023. We'll talk about what went wrong there, Coach. And I always get the question, too, if you had a do-over this time last year, what would you do differently? So we'll get into that a little bit here on Hoist the Colors. We'll be right back.
It's Greenville Toyota's winter wrap-up event. Wrap up a great deal on over 100 pre-owned vehicles, starting under $15,000. We have all makes and models, including luxury. Plus, wrap up a huge warranty and no-charge maintenance. Hurry into Greenville Toyota.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hey, grab me one too.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
It's Greenville Toyota's winter wrap-up event. We're wrapping up the year with our biggest savings. Shop new Camrys and RAV4s, $289 a month. Need credit? Get pre-qualified today. Wrap up a great deal with payments from $289 at Greenville Toyota.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
matey!
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
Okay, welcome back into the show. Thursday, January 4th, we've got Mike Houston in studio, head coach of the Pirates. Busy week on campus for them, so we appreciate him making some time to come on the show. All right, Coach, we're going to take a look back. I know it's painful to the 2023 season.
Yep.
But this will be my final time asking you about it, outside of maybe the question here or there in spring ball. But when you look back at 2023, wasn't the season anybody wanted, you guys, players, coaches, fans? I mean, we all know that now. You know, what do you feel like kind of led to the results we saw versus maybe some of those so many tight games not panning out in favor of the Pirates?
Well, I think it's just you graduated, declared for the draft, lost in the portal. Every starter virtually from your offense a year ago, and you had guys returning, you had some new guys come in, but you just the inexperience coupled with you had three staff transitions on the offensive side of the ball, and I just think it just never gelled in time. And hard to anticipate, but obviously, needed to do a better job of anticipating that. And, the other thing is you can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I can take away from that is you got to make sure the fit is correct. And I mean, both staff-wise and, player-wise. You can't ask, guys to do things that it's not in their wheelhouse.
And you guys, y'all had some, just unfortunate timing with Latrell Scott, Chris Foster leaving their first day of spring practice. You might lose one coach in spring practice. You don't lose two coaches in one day. I mean, that was brutal. So I'm not trying to make excuses for you guys, but that was tough. That was a tough situation.
It was tough, and I do think being better prepared to handle the transfer portal this year than we were a year ago. Because the thing that scares you when you have staff changes is you're going to lose players too. And the whole thing just didn't come together like it needed to. And obviously, the responsibility of making sure it does falls completely on me. So I've had to evaluate a lot of stuff. I do think that we're in much better shape today than we were at the beginning of the season. With our personnel, there's no doubt. But even with our program, we're much more prepared today than we were a year ago to navigate the new landscape of college football.
And you may have just answered in what you said, but if you could go back to this time last year, is there a move or two that you would do differently to try and set yourself up for better success in 2023?
Well, you always wish you could go back and do it again. If you could, then obviously there are certainly some things that you would do differently. I think there's some things that you would be able to pull off. There's some things that even if you knew it was coming, you're still not going to be able to navigate. I mean, I think that, and credit to Team Boneyard, the board of directors at Team Boneyard, and all of the donors who have made significant commitments to our NIL with our student athletes. But, we're in so much better shape today than we were a year ago. I mean, it's night and day. And that's important for retention of players, because the ones that you want to keep, you've got to do a great job with them. And it's also huge with being able to, we had great transfers on campus this time last year, but the difference is this year we're getting commitments from those guys, and you're able to add to the roster where you need to, and obviously, like I said, just making sure that the pieces meshed correctly. I would try to do much more. If you knew how they were going to go, you'd obviously make some different changes there.
Right. So. Mason Garcia, obviously, highly touted recruit, and you can understand why. Physically has all the tools.
Right.
And was kind of seen as the heir apparent to Holton Ahlers.
Right.
Started the year as a starter. Got another shot at against Charlotte. Just for whatever reason, never seemed to. And I saw him in practice. He was incredible at times, and just never seemed to transition to game day. And I'm sure, great kid. We wish him all the best at Austin Peay.
No doubt.
Why do you feel like it just never worked at ECU for Mason?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one because you don't see it that often where that kind of talent and doing the things in practice and it doesn't translate to game day. And I hate it. I mean, I hate it for him. I hate it for us. I hate it for everyone. But I don't know.
Do you feel like he at times may put too much pressure on himself? Just because there was so much hype about him. And
I think he felt a lot of pressure. I think handling the pressure.
Right.
I think that was tough. But hopefully a new surroundings and a fresh start allows him to get kind of a reset for himself.
This offseason, the portal window has closed now for the undergrads.
Right.
We did see a couple of guys enter the portal that I don't even know if I can say Antoine Jackson was a surprise given what we saw in high school. But what did you make of him entering the portal? There was, a couple of guys, Taylor Jackson, who played some ball. Did anything surprise you as far as guys leaving during the portal window?
I don't think anything can surprise you anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to be prepared that anything could happen. And the positive thing I do feel this time around is we're better prepared to handle those departures. And I do think, there's the pool is much better this year than it was last year. Now that's going to be really bad for some guys because there's going to be more players in the portal that can play than there are spots. But we are finding that there's more talented guys that we're able to attract this year than we did last year.
And when you look at y'all were able to keep so much of this defense that played. I mean, we talked so much about the struggles of last year, but this defense under Blake Harrell, the staff, obviously Trip Weaver going to Austin Peay as well, but the staff coming back, so much of the personnel coming back. So how crucial was that to keep many of those guys in this program?
Well, I think it's important for the program. B, I think it speaks to just the bond that group and all of our coaches have, and kind of their commitment to the program. And so certainly we feel very good about our returning starters. Feel very good about the staff, and I think people forget how much history there is with our staff on that side of the football. I mean, there's a bunch of us have been together since 2006. So it's the continuity on that side of the staff is what you want.
Roy Tesh, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit, Coach. I mean, he's been with you forever, but also wherever you put him, his unit just seems to thrive.
Yeah, and we joke about it because Tesh can be grumpy at times.
Yeah.
But one thing about it, whatever you give him, he's going to get the job done. This past year, I wanted to go back to our punt scheme that we had used for so many years, and Roy had coached our punt scheme at other places, and so put him back in charge of that unit. And he griped about it. But you know what? They did a great job, and they went out there and performed on game day. No different than what he does with the D tackles. I mean, I think, in my opinion, you could put him just about anywhere, and he's going to do a great job.
I asked him too one day, is he still eating? Because every time I see him, he shrinks smaller and smaller.
When we met, he was like 310.
Wow.
He just finished playing arena ball. And so to see him now, it's like two different human beings.
Him and Blake are always running at lunchtime, so it's always fun to see those guys getting some exercise in. Blake Harrell obviously coming back. Yeah. From my understanding, him and John David Baker as well, Coach, got 2-year contracts, which is, I think says a lot about the administration too, just stepping up and doing that. So can you touch on just how important that is as well?
No doubt. I mean, I think it shows the commitment to the program from East Carolina University. I mean, the administration in athletics and the administrations with the school. Certainly I think it's, very deserving for Blake. I think it's very deserving for John David. I mean, let's be honest. John David took a pay cut to come here, and but something that he really wanted to do was to be able to run his own show. And Blake, I've got all the confidence in the world in him, and we've talked a lot before, but he took a scheme that we ran many years ago, and from the time that I left him to when he rejoined, he'd evolved that scheme and continues to. He studies all the time. He does a great job in recruiting. He's certainly deserving of being rewarded with a 2-year deal.
What do you feel like is the next step now for the defense? I mean, obviously great improvements last year and so much of this talent coming back. What do you feel like are kind of the next steps there?
The two things that stood out to us, and we have it prepared to show the guys when they get back, going into spring practice, but with missed opportunities. Blake and I were talking about this morning, and it's interceptions. If we catch half the interceptions that hit us in the hands that we should have intercepted, if we catch half of them last year, we're top 10 in the country in interceptions. Same thing with sacks. We had so many missed sacks last year. If we make half of those tackles, then we're top 10 in the country in sacks. There's probably some tackle for loss situations the same. And so, we've done a pretty good self-study, and we had a lot of discussions, and we'll continue that in February as we're preparing for spring practice, but really emphasizing, finishing the play this spring and trying to come up with, simulations, drills, whatever it is, to help us be better at finishing those plays this coming season. Because all of a sudden, if you can if you increase those two areas right there, I mean, think about the difference that makes on game day. I mean, that's significant.
I still remember the play at Rice. Y'all drew up the corner blitz, free rush, missed the sack. He completes the first down throw. I think they scored a touchdown on that drive. Those are the plays, you're talking about.
Oh, no doubt.
I want to ask you, too, about, before we take a break, Damon Magazu coming home. So take us through that process, getting Mags as safeties coach and how excited he is to be back in Greenville.
Well, one, he's excited. I didn't realize everybody would be as excited as he was. But, certainly knew the name and had followed his career. And so, was watching what he was doing at UNLV. And, I do have a connection to Barry Odom. We've spoke before in the past, and so knew each other a little bit. And so, when we started just talking some, it was very obvious that this is something he really wanted to pursue. Because the first thing is you want to make sure somebody really wants to be here. And he was passionate about that from the very first conversation we had. But then, the more you do your research and then, through the interview, when he took us through what he's doing there and showing us what he's doing on a daily basis on the practice field, showing us how that translates to the game day, it became, pretty evident that he was the top candidate. And I think for me, probably the final, nail was, when Coach Odom and I, when we got towards the end and Coach Odom and I had a pretty, direct conversation, just how much he believed in him. And Barry Odom is a good defensive football coach. And they certainly did not want to lose Damon. That's the other, I always get, sometimes there's a member of our administration that'll say, well, why they want to get rid of him? Well, they didn't want to get rid of him. They were trying to keep him. But Damon wanted to be back on the East Coast. He wanted to be back close to his family. He wanted to be back at East Carolina University because he does care about this program and this institution so much.
Damon Magazu back at ECU as safeties coach. All right, let's take another break. We'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with head coach Mike Houston on the other side.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Fifth Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous Fifth Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. Fifth Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in color. and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-947.
The Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes! That was so good!
194.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back into Hoist the Colors on this Thursday in our third segment. Appreciate Coach Houston's time again. And we are live on YouTube, Facebook. If you got a question, we'll get to it. If it's a good question. If it's a bad question, I'm not going to ask it. I do want to ask you, Coach. Brandon wants to know, what are your thoughts on the home and home of Coastal Carolina? You seem to be pretty big on these regional matchups. I think kind of like the fans are as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing is, if our fans if they're passionate about our program, which they are, they can see us play, home and away. I think that's important. I think that the negative of our conference, to a degree, is spread out all across the country, and so one, our fans can't see us play on the road a lot. Two, I do think that that keeps us from having these massive rivals. I do think that some of our more regional schools that we're playing, I think you're going to see just a little bit more passion because the fan bases intermingle so much, and so I was for it. I know everybody wants to see us play State and Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia Tech and those, and we'd love to play those games, but there has to be interest on both sides. And so, to get a home and home with a school in our region that's had a really good run here in the past, 5 or so years, I think it's a good thing for both sides.
No doubt. And ECU took a good contingent up to App last year. I'm sure App will bring. I mean, to me, that's just what college football is about. And it's cool when ECU gets to play, at Houston or at Rice or somewhere like that. But, I just enjoy the pageantry, Coach. I mean, it just like that rivalry feeling that we got in Boone. Another game didn't turn out how you wanted it, but I think this year in Dowdy-Ficklin will be very similar on ECU's favor.
I would think so. And the thing is, I think everybody's got to understand, just college football's changed drastically, not just in the last 2 years, but in the last 10, 15 years, it's changed drastically. And so, the games like Appalachian State. I mean, Appalachian State's invested a lot in football. And they have a very good program. I mean, it's going to be a great game this fall in Dowdy-Ficklin. And the Coastal games, when they get here, I mean, they're continuing to build that program and are playing great on the field. And so that's going to be a great matchup for our program.
Russ Walker says, "Tell Mike I like what he's doing." So Russ says, "Keep doing your
Appreciate
thing, Coach."
That.
He says, "Also, do you have peanut butter pie on your official visits?"
Well, most of the meals we're doing on these visits right here are pretty quick, and they're they're around town because we're trying to show them Greenville. But when we do the ones in the summer, it's always a part of the
peanut butter pie,
the meal in the tower on Friday night.
That's our old inside joke. Is there was a girl that used to ask about peanut butter pie, which I know y'all have it at the winners dinner as well, all the time. So I get a good crack out of that one. All right, I don't know if I should ask this, but Liberty's back on the schedule.
Yep.
And you'll be going against Jamie Chadwell.
Yep.
You guys, for people who are not familiar, y'all were rivals at Lenore Ryan, right? In North Greenville.
Yep.
And then also at the Citadel Charleston Southern, both in Charleston. So you'll be facing him with Liberty. Great program. Clearly they went undefeated this year. So that'll be a tall game. He wants to know how you feel about Jamie Chadwell. You don't have to necessarily open up on all that.
Jamie's done a great job everywhere he's been. And it's always, those games have always been, just highly competitive and, a lot of intensity because, he has probably a similar mindset to how you run a program from how you play the game as to what I do. So it'll be a very I would anticipate a very intense matchup.
And you guys kind of faced their staff at Coastal. Obviously, he had
Right.
left for Liberty, but
Right.
a lot of ties there between those staffs. So that'll be a fun one. And then Old Dominion on the schedule as well, Norfolk
Right.
State. So that's a complete non-conference regional schedule.
Right.
You guys will be able to drive everywhere, so that'll be interesting next season. Let's talk NIL for a little bit, Coach. And you touched on it earlier, but it just seems like with what Team Boneyard's done, and kind of now that we've been through this,
Right.
maybe ECU is a little late, probably were a little late to the game, but do you feel like ECU is now at a point where it can be competitive in the American with NIL?
I think that we have made, literally night and day strides. I think yes, the answer is yes. I think we also have to caution ourselves that everybody else is doing the same thing. So, we're in such a positive place today compared to a year ago. And, I stress that to our players. I can't thank, everybody that supported Team Boneyard. I think, Hank Hinton and Doug Gomes, and the board of directors, the work that they put in. I mean, it has been a game changer for us. And so it's made significant impact. Everybody else is doing the same thing. So if I could say anything to our fan base, I don't care if you can give $5. If you can support Team Boneyard, it's going to help. And it does not matter how big or small the contribution is.
And I think you said it best earlier, covering recruiting when you guys have these prospects on campus. I remember several big-time transfers visited last year that y'all didn't necessarily get, maybe because of NIL presence. And now you are getting those players, and I think that's a direct reflection of the raised funds there as well.
Well, the fact that the players can be supported is just such a big piece of college football across the country. And I wish that we would have some kind of guidance and some rules and regulations with it, but you don't right now. But I think that we are doing a very solid job of supporting the players, not only the transfers coming in, but the big piece that I've really tried to emphasize to the board members is we got to continue to support at a very high level our top players that are coming back. Retention for me is every bit as important as anybody coming in, and the players know that. I think that sometimes our fans forget that. Listen. We got some good players that are on our roster right now, and some players that did some great things last year. So we got to make sure that we're supporting them as well.
And it seems, and I kind of said it earlier too, like this time of year, we all want to know what's going to be new,
right?
What changes are being made. Is it tough as coaches too to always? And y'all are on the road so much in December and January. Right. How do y'all balance trying to keep everybody happy? I mean, because that's got to be the toughest part of your job as a head coach, right? Trying to keep as many guys happy.
Well, it is, and it's harder than ever. It's the backbone of our program is the strong relationships that our coaches have with our players, and because I think strong relationships and I think trusting relationships, they help you navigate tough times. They helped us navigate a challenging season. They helped us navigate a challenging, off season so far, and it's going to help us, navigate tough things in life because, things have changed so much from when we were in school and when I was playing. I mean, I couldn't imagine. The scrutiny is pretty extreme on anything that they do, and so you got to have a strong relationship with them to help them navigate that. Probably the biggest thing I wish that would happen with NIL is that you would have, some clarity on what's real and what's not, because there's so much fictitious stuff out there with what is being offered and what is being given versus reality. And I really, that's the positive of having some new coaches coming in from, we got a coach from the SEC, we got a coach that was in the Big Ten, we got, guys from other Group of 5 schools, and just them bringing in the perspectives of, hey, you know what? Team Boneyard and the companies and the businesses around Greenville are doing a really solid job of supporting our players. And I think that that's good when they hear it from somebody besides me.
When you're on the road recruiting, and you'll be on the road in January, kind of away from the team, the whole staff will. Do y'all try and set aside time to Zoom or call or text your position groups as far as position coaches, or you as a head coach reach out to guys?
Well, you're in constant communication, and that's one thing that you're talking to recruits, you're talking to your current players, you're talking to each other, and it's the communication piece has got to remain constant. And it's usually I would have gone to the convention. I would have left Saturday and come back midweek next week. I'm going to leave Monday morning. That way, we have a team meeting Sunday night. That way I can at least see all the kids. And I think that's important. It's maybe something that 5 years ago we didn't realize just how important it is. But it's important that they know just how much you do care about them, and you get to see them. I mean, you can text them, that's great, but seeing them face to face is so much more impactful.
All right, Mike Houston with us. Let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up with Coach on this Thursday edition of Hoist the Colors.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Just because voice-over IP telephones are the latest technology in the telephone world doesn't mean they're the right choice for you and your business. Whether your internet provider is unable to support a voice-over IP phone system, or you don't have a need for high-tech features and simply want to stick with a traditional system, Spain Telecom is here to help. Spain Telecom offers a variety of services to keep your business connected and competitive. We're confident we can find the right phone system for you and your business, a system that addresses all your communication needs. Looking for a new phone system that won't break the bank? In addition to new systems, Spain Telecom also offers gently used systems that are in great shape and can save you money. No matter your needs, Spain Telecom has a solution for you. Whether it's voice over IP, on-premise systems, new or used, give us a call at 252-353-2006 and let Spain Telecom help you with your communications needs.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo.
Drink up, me hearties, yo ho.
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, got about 7 minutes left with Coach Houston on this Thursday, January 4th edition of the show. We'll hit some of these questions on YouTube before we get out of here. And got a interesting point here from Robert. He says, I believe Coach Houston has built one of the better team cultures that we have seen at ECU in many years. It's an overlooked asset. And I referenced this last year, Coach. A lot of teams with y'all's records down the stretch would not have, I think, held it together or played the way East Carolina did. And I felt like like even watching that FAU game, how hard the guys were playing. And I think it did show how much the culture still stood even through the struggles last year, the adversity.
Well, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, and it's the players, it's the coaches, it's everybody, because it takes everybody to build that kind of culture. But, you know, I do think that the players feel so much for each other and so much for the program. And, you know, now we've gotten to the point where, you know, your older players, you know, they are the ones that are, you know, doing the accountability stuff, you know, making sure guys are doing things right off the field. And, you know, I'm proud of the fact that we've had, you know, minimal off-field issues. And I think it's a credit to the character and just the dedication of the players we have in the program.
We're talking scheduled earlier. This is kind of an interesting point. You know, CBA on YouTube says, what does Coach think about trying to get a yearly app game on Thanksgiving weekend or getting the conference to agree to put Charlotte there? Maybe a way to have more butts in the seats. You see, like, the rivalry week at the end of the year, Coach.
Right.
You know, I think it makes sense for ECU to play Charlotte every year at the end of the season, but that's just me. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, to try to create some of that rivalry, you know?
Well, I mean, I think that's going to happen. That game's it's going to turn into a solid rivalry game. That's just going to naturally happen over time. Yeah, and it's not a bad idea. I mean, because that last game of the year, you know, when your students aren't on campus, you know, it's a challenge. You know, and you got a lot of families traveling, but you know, it's still, you know, game day atmosphere. I mean, that's so vital, and you know, you create a game where people, you know, are really passionate about it, and they know that, hey, every year we're going to play this team. You know, it could work. So. You know who to talk to on that. So
we'll send it to the American and also John Gilbert, get them to try to work on that. Coach, you know, you stood at the podium after the Tulsa game. Speaking of Thanksgiving weekend, you're obviously disappointed. That was just kind of a crazy way to end the season with the possession and the fumble. You know, before Tulsa kicked the game-winning field goal, but you said, "Hey, I don't want to go through this again. I'm going to make sure we don't go through this again." You're now a few months, a little over a month removed from that. What gives you the confidence based on what you've done that you won't go through that again at ECU?
Well, I think actions speak louder than words. I mean, that's something my dad taught me. So you can stand up there and say that, but if you don't do anything about it, then you know, those words are empty. But I think, you know, anybody that's paid any attention can see how aggressive we've been with staff, with retention of players, with attracting and being aggressive going after the top players in the portal. And it's not like we're finished. I mean, we're not even close to being finished. It's just, I'm going to do any and everything I can in my power to ensure that we have the kind of season that we should have every single year at East Carolina. And if you say, what'd you learn from last year? It's I've got to stay aggressive year in, year out, and you can't. The way of you know, roster management and the way of doing things 5 years ago is completely different. And you know, I've got to make sure that we remain extremely aggressive in putting East Carolina football in the very best situation. And you're never going to be in the best situation, because I just think you've always got to continue to push to improve it every single day, no matter what is going on.
Few days left in this transfer portal window. Are there any big needs y'all are hoping to solidify going into the spring semester?
Well, I think that again, that's the one thing that maybe that I learned last year is, you know, you got to make sure any player that you find that you think can help you win, you got to investigate him. And so you're going to see us continue to add solid players to our current roster over the next couple of weeks. And I anticipate doing the same thing in May. You know, spring practice is going to be, you know, huge for, you know, meshing our returning players together with our new players. But then, you know, you're probably going to have a situation where you're going to need to address it in May, and we've got to be prepared for that. And we got to be prepared to, you know, make sure that our current players, you know, in May, they feel good going into the summer about, you know, our program. I just think this is the cycle and the calendar of college football is just a completely different animal than it was just a few short years ago.
There's no doubt. That I always say, I don't know how you guys do it. It's crazy. We got about a minute left with Coach. And you kind of touched on it there, but this winter, and again, you guys will be on the road, but the winter with Big John and then the spring, especially for the offense, like the gel, how important are those two things to really get the culture and the offense really on the same page?
One, got to have that time with Big John in the weight room in January and February. Two is we got to do a lot more football before spring practice than we've ever done. We got to make sure that the offensive players, you almost have to go through a complete install in February before you get to spring ball and installing again there. And I think you got to do the same thing in June. But it's going to be, it's a mad race right now to get our team ready for our opener this fall.
All right, Coach, we appreciate the time. Pirate 2031 says really appreciate Coach Houston doing this, especially in such a busy time. And, again, we'll let you get back to the office and get your recruiting hat back on.
Appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate our fans. That's the biggest asset we have for our players and our recruits is our passionate fan base. So I'm excited to be the coach here and can't wait for the kickoff.
And if you can give $5 to Team Boneyard, do that as well. But, hey, we appreciate the time, Coach. Really means a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. That is Mike Houston. Again, thanks so much for his gracious time. And tomorrow's show, we'll have one of his former players, Joe Sampson, on. We'll recap some of this conversation, and we'll also look ahead to the weekend upcoming in the NFL as the playoffs get closer. We'll preview the national title game. We'll get Joe's take on the college football playoff semifinals, those great games, and more. All right, appreciate everybody's commenting on the YouTube and Facebook pages as well. Been a fun show. Had a lot of viewership. We will see you guys Friday at 12 noon. This has been Hoist the Colors.